Welcome back, members. In this video I want to be giving you guys some strategies on what to do after the crypto bubble bursts. And it's not going to be straight away, but in a couple months we've got to get our ducks in order so that we know what to do next. There's going to be a couple more bubbles that are going to start blowing up over the next few years, and I want to prepare you guys for it. So I'm going to do one separate video on each of these upcoming bubbles. These bubbles are going to be in real estate, artificial intelligence, mining and commodities, gold and silver, India as an overall theme, and also agriculture. So over the next few weeks I'm going to be making bonus videos for you guys, giving you strategies and details on how to make the most out of these upcoming bubbles. But in this video we're going to be talking about real estate. And before I get into this video, I should apologize for all the background noise going on here. It's raining cats and dogs here in Sydney, so the street outside's really noisy and you can actually hear water coming out through the plumbing and everything here. So really sorry about that. But the video here, real estate I think is going to be probably for about the next 5 years or so going into a bigger and bigger bubble. This is going to be all over the world, not just in Australia, not just in the United States. I think every country all over the world is going to experience a real estate bubble. Now, some of you will say real estate's been in a bubble already for many years, and I hear you, especially if you're struggling to buy your own home right now. However, I think the prices are only going to be heading upwards in the short term. But before we explain why that is, let's get into some palmistry theory here so we can understand the planets that are going to be creating this. So when you look at real estate, you really want to be looking at the zodiac house of Cancer. Anytime a good planet goes through here, that pushes up a bubble. And anytime a bad planet goes through here, that deflates the real estate bubble. And what's going to be happening is in November of 2026, Ketu is going to enter the cusp from Leo and go into Cancer. That's going to deflate the real estate market. So right now Ketu is in Scorpio and it's put somewhat of a lid on precious metals, although I'm going to come back and talk about that in more detail when I make a separate video on gold and silver. But in November of 2026, when Ketu does come onto this line here between Leo and Cancer, that whole market is going to come crashing down. What happens in June of 2026, however, is Jupiter is going to enter into Cancer. That's going to create like 6 months of mania, or like actually 4 or 5 months of mania with real estate. That's the time that you guys have to look at getting out of your real estate holdings if you're not holding for the long term, that is. Now this bubble itself is starting technically in the next couple of months, when Jupiter leaves Capricorn and enters into Aquarius. It's then going to go retrograde back into Capricorn. That's going to create a really good aspect with Cancer. So in some parts of the world, the real estate bubble has been reinflating since about November when Jupiter entered here. But in other parts of the world, it's really going to kick in a high gear over the next month or two. And what this basically does, Jupiter in Capricorn, is it's going to create lots and lots of printed money. And what you'll notice over the next few years, there's going to be lots and lots of government policies that are going to blow up this bubble. Basically, governments are going to give you so much free money and so many tax breaks to make you buy real estate. So that's a general theme with what I think is going to be happening astrologically over the next few years. So the question then is, what can we do about this? How do we take advantage of this upcoming bubble? And I want to give you two strategies here in particular. The first is to buy or renovate a house. The idea being, if you don't own your own home now, you've got to get into the market almost straight away. Either buy or buy to renovate. You know, that flipping houses dynamic some people do. The idea here is to put it on the market in July of 2026 with the view that you'll sell it in August or September. Remember, houses aren't like stocks. You can't just put a sell order for a house and expect it to sell the next day. It takes a couple months. So even though the bubble's going to end in November, you want the house on the market July and look to sell a couple of months before that bubble bursts. The idea then is to hold on to your money through the crash and then buy again on the other side of it. That's strategy one. Strategy number two is to get into real estate investment trusts, REITs. And these are basically companies that are on most big stock exchanges. They're basically landholding companies, and what they do is they collect rent from their tenants, they give it out to their shareholders. If you don't have enough money to get into real estate now, have a look at accumulating some shares of these companies. They're really good for dividends too. Now what I do when I'm looking for a real estate investment trust is I have 3 criteria. Number 1, I look for a company with low debt. Number 2, I look for something known as NAV or NCAV. What that stands for is net asset value or net current asset value. And that's basically the value of the properties, and it's going to be in a dollar value too. So let's say for example that you're looking at a share that's $3 and it has a NAV of say $3. What that means is that if the worst were to happen to the company and it was to go bankrupt tomorrow and they were forced to sell all their shares, you'd get $3 back. In other words, there'd be very little risk here. So look for a company with an NAV very close to its current share price. And it can be off by like 20 or 30%. That's not a big deal there. That's still, in my opinion, close. The third thing I'd look for is a dividend yield of about 5%. So remember, our idea is to reinvest the dividends. So we can compound this over the next 5 or 6 years and then look to sell in October of 2026. If you accumulate enough of these shares, you should be able to buy a property after this bubble bursts. And that, guys, is this video on the strategies on what to do with the upcoming real estate bubble. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below as always. And in the next couple of weeks, as I said, I'll be doing other videos on other parts of the world. Now, some of you may want to ask, well, what about buying real estate in India or buying agricultural real estate? Because those are 2 of the upcoming themes that I was talking about. I'll come back later in a separate video and talk about that separately. But for now, the general theme of real estate is up. So if you are desperate to buy a house or looking at moving, now's the time to do so within the next couple of months. Alright guys, I'll leave it at that point there. Thanks a lot.